So I took the Polaris for a little run around the yard and just been working on clutch tuning. I think the tuning part's pretty well, but it's hard to tell for sure because the belts that I have, I was using the PolCat 020, which came off the powder special the engine came out of, but it's actually too long. When you get it in there, you have the sheaves adjusted out as far as they'll go, and it's sitting up as it should in the clutch, but it can't go in any farther. But there's too much. I mean, there was over 2 inches of deflection on the belt, and you could spin it pretty easy. So I need to try and come up with a little bit shorter belt. I tried all the ones I have around here. I've got some 046s and 036s and 084s off of other Arctic cats, and they're all too short. So it looks like I'm going to need to get a hold of a Polaris belt, because by looking up all the belt charts and everything, the 020's 48 inches. I have a 031 I tried, and it's 47 3/4 inches. The 046s are 45, so I'm thinking I probably need to. There's a Polaris belt that's 46 inches, because I can put the 046 in there to 45 and some change inch belt, and it'll get in there, but it's sitting down in the sheave probably a good 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. So I think if I get that 46 inch belt, that'll probably be just about perfect. I gotta double check the widths again, but I'll round up one of those and we'll see how it goes. So it seems the airbox inlet is too restrictive. Taking it out for longer rides other than just around the yard, really not even that long, just around the neighborhood towards that higher RPM for longer, it'd not want to run right. Like if you let it down and idle for a minute and then you got on it, it'd be fine, but if you're just cruising along and then you try to get it, it wouldn't want to go. So I was thinking it might be the airbox being too restrictive, especially since I finally put the air filter in there. It's not much of a filter, just to keep big chunks and crap from getting in there. Is when it really started showing. But to test, I took the airbox out and took it for the same little ride, and it was fine. It actually sounded a lot better too. So I was worried about it being too small, but this is, you know, how it got up in there with the 2 ECUs, and now we've only got one because I ended up using the other one running the gauge. But that's just a shop vac outer filter is all that is, and it's just, like I said, something to keep big chunks of ice or like that little seed shell there from getting down into the engine. But that's not enough flow, which I was really worried about anyway, so we're just gonna hack it and call it a day. So I figured I'll just go all the way down to the top of the boot here and just cut it off, and then I'll be able to put the air sensor over on this side here, and then we'll just take another piece of that filter there and rivet it over the top. So I cut the top off the airbox on the bandsaw. Used to be right there like that. That tiny little opening to fit around everything, so we're just gonna go with this because, well, it's quicker and cheaper than ordering pod filters. But it's also got, I mean, you can see this area versus the top, so it's got a lot more area for airflow. The air sensor gonna be right there, and just got, you know, that foam to keep all the big crap out riveted on there. I haven't riveted this end yet. I've got the holes drilled because I'm hoping I'll be able to slide my hand in here and help get these lips around the throttle bodies, because that was a huge pain having to use like long screwdrivers last time and try and get them in and work it around, then get a different angle so I could work it around. So hopefully it'll go a lot easier like this. The airbox is all in. It was got their other rivets in. It was way easier to get in with being able to reach through here and slide the boots around. Only took a couple minutes. Got the air sensor all plugged in over there, so now I just need to put the two-stroke container back up and bolt everything back together and take it for another longer test ride and see how it works out. The old Polaris saga continues. Have the 600 in, was taking it on test drives and wasn't wanting to run quite right, and then eventually it just shut off when it restarted and got to doing testing, and the stator went out. So seems standard on these 600s, because the one I had years ago, powder special, when the stator went out, the flywheel doesn't want to come off. I mean, I've broke a bunch of bolts trying to use the Polar, and I heated it. I used 1 can of dust off trying to cool it so it would shrink and get it off, and I actually tried a 3-jaw Polar, grab it on the outside, and the last one I did, I actually had to cut the flywheel off and just get a new one. And then the guy I got this engine from actually replaced the stator in this one as well, and he had the same problem. So that's actually a brand new flywheel from when he replaced the stator, and it still doesn't want to come off. And again, they may be cheap and seems like a good idea. Don't get the Caltrick stators. If you look on eBay and Amazon, you can find a Caltrick stator for, you know, $80 to $200. It's way cheaper than factory or anything, where there's, I guess, a guy that rewinds them that does good jobs. But so far, every one that I've used in a sled has gone out within a year, at least. Depends how much you ride it. But because this was a Caltrick stator, he used the same one I used in my 600. I guess the one I rode my 600 powder special for a year and it hadn't gone out yet, which has made me think they're pretty good. But from the guy I sold the motor to, apparently that stator went out the next year. And then the powder special that I put an 800 in, I put a Caltrick stator in it, and it went out in a year. This one's got out in a year. The one that I put in my 2012 went out after 2 rides, and yeah, so they're not good stators. I want to get them. Alright, this is the stator plate out of the 800. We're going to see about putting in the 600, because the stator ohm readings are the same, but they bolt in differently. So far I turned it down with the lathe, so it's the same diameter, 601. And the bolt holes are slightly off. Like the ones on the 600 are in a little bit farther, so I'm going to go ahead and open them up a little bit. So you got the 800 stator plate turned down to the same diameter. And give it a try. Finally got the stator off. It had these little 6mm bolts. They kept breaking. So I drilled and tapped it out to 8mm bolts, and they broke, so 10mm bolts, and it came off.